are you?
Hi, my name is Rissi Palmer. I'm a singer, songwriter, and performer. I live currently in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I do have New York ties. I used to live here about, 8 years ago. And I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis in a little town called Eureka. And I lived in Atlanta, I've lived in Ohio, I lived in Pennsylvania, all over. And I would classify my sound as Southern Soul. It's a mixture of country, gospel, pop, and R&B. And my new project is called the Backboard Sessions. It's a 5-song EP we released in May. And it's just a mixture of songs about my life, my growing up. It's dedicated to my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, who are all from a very small town in Georgia called Somerville. And I named it the Backboard Session because that was where I got started singing, on my great-grandmother's back porch. They used to give me quarters to sing songs, so I feel like it's kind of full circle. And I am in the process of releasing a Christmas album, which will be available in a couple weeks, and it is called 3 Wishes. And I am also working on a lullaby project that I'll be releasing next year, kind of as a companion piece to the children's album that we did about 3 years ago called Best Day Ever, and it's a family and children's album. So I do a little bit of both. I do adult music and children's music. So if you're interested in hearing more about my music or about what I'm working on, you can check me out at www.RissiPalmerMusic.com. All music is available on iTunes, Google Music, wherever you get digital music from, and I'm also on Spotify. And yeah, I'm currently wrapping up what has been a year-long tour, the Backboard Sessions acoustic tour, and we plan on getting back out on the road in February 2016. So definitely go to the website to see where we're going to be, because we're going to try to be everywhere. And I'm also super excited about next year. I'll be participating in the Lincoln Center at the Atrium Children's Series, which is a huge honor, and I'll be performing the children's album Best Day Ever in its entirety. So very excited. Okay, so my very first album in 2007 was a country pop album, and I was signed to a major label and toured with Chris Young and Sawyer Brown and Carolyn Dawn Johnson, who are all country artists. It was an interesting experience, to say the very least. I think a lot of times me being black kind of overshadowed the fact that I'm a songwriter and that I am a performer, and people were more interested in talking about my blackness than anything else. And so after a while that kind of got to be tiresome. But I definitely think that if I wasn't different, a lot of the attention that I got may not have happened. So I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, so to speak. I think that people, for the most part, were intrigued and were interested and were kind. There were those that weren't. But I mean, you know, overall, I think it was a positive experience. I think that I, in the end, suffered from what I think plagues a lot of new female artists in country music, and that is that it's a male-dominated genre. And so females, you can hear 3 to 5 male songs before you hear a female on country radio, and it's usually the same 3 females. So, you know, that was a problem. And that when I left my label, I just decided that I didn't want to try to make my music fit in any particular box, because I don't think I fit in any particular box as an artist. So from now on, you know, and the freedom of being an independent artist is that you can kind of just choose your own path and write your own adventure. And that's what I'm doing right now. So the evolution of my sound is I started as I guess what you would call a contemporary country artist, country pop. It was the sound was extremely informed by artists like Dixie Chicks and Miranda Lambert and people of that nature. And so we tried to kind of harness what was happening on country radio in 2005, 2006, 2007, and that's when my record came out. And I knew when we made that first record that I wanted to go in a more soulful direction, because I grew up in church, and you know, there's you want to do runs and you want to say certain things, but like you can't do that when you're trying to make a country pop record. So, you know, my record label knew that my second record, I wanted it to be this more soulful thing. And fortunately and unfortunately, there was no second record with the label, and I left and got married, and kind of got out of it for a second because I was burnt out. Like it was a lot. There was a lot in a very short amount of time, and I was tired and kind of over it. So I wanted to enjoy being a family and having a baby, and I had my daughter in 2011 after getting married in 2010, and I enjoyed that. And from there, I created a children's record. I was inspired by motherhood, and so I created Best Day Ever with Blue Miller, who's worked with NDRE and Joss Stone and Deanna Walker and Rick Beresford, and we wrote this record and put that out, and it kind of, I don't know, like ignited a fire in me and let me know that I wanted to start doing music again. So I was inspired by the children's record and just by the free form of it, and we just kind of, we did country, we did some soulful things, we did some things that were kind of rock and kind of folky, and I was like, I want to do that same thing for an adult project. So when we started working on the Backboard Sessions, I knew exactly who I wanted to work with. Drew Ramsey and Shannon Sanders, who are the producers behind every NDRE song that you've ever heard. Robert Randolph, gosh, The Temptations, they've worked with everybody. And they worked on my first record, and I knew that they had the sound, and I knew that they would be able to get it out of me. So we did a Kickstarter to get the album done and worked on that for most of 2014, and we released in May of this year. And I think that for the first time in a really long time, I made a piece of art that completely represents who I am as a person and who I am as an artist. There's some gospel elements. I got to do some of my church stuff. And there's some country there, and there's also some R&B. And it's just like a very, I think, personally, a very well-rounded representation of who Rissi Palmer is. My philosophy on music, I think that I hate to be like the Grinch about what's going on in music right now. I just really feel like the thing that's missing from modern music, at least some mainstream music, is soul. I feel like so many people, it's so image driven and it's so Instagram, and we're so 140 characters or less as a society that a lot of times you don't really get to the heart of what it is. And so for me, again, because I have the freedom of being an independent artist and putting out my own music, you kind of have the freedom to talk about a relationship, or you have or you know, this is how I feel about what's going on in the world right now. This is what I feel about politics. This is what I feel about my people. This is what I feel about whatever. And I just wish more artists would do that. I wish more artists would stand up. I wish more artists would have principle behind what they sing. And you know, that's what I like. Again, that's what I try to do, even in children's music, whether it's adult music, whatever. Like you have to say something. Like I just feel like music needs to say something. Music said something. Donny Hathaway said something. Marvin Gaye said something. Like we need to say something. And I, you know, as an artist, that's just something that I strive for and that I look for in other artists. Whether it's country, whether it's R&B, whatever, we have to stand for something. Like it can't all be dance music. It can't all be booty popping. It can't all be about my car and my clothes. Like we have to talk about something. So yeah, I feel convicted about that, and I don't know if that's because I'm a mother now, or I'm just older, or just the world is just crazy. Like I just feel like we gotta we gotta stand up. People are listening, so we gotta stand up as artists. We have to. Like 2015, this is the wake-up call. Like I don't know how many more we're gonna get. So we have to stand for something, especially African American artists. We have to talk about it, because again, the world is crazy. So we just have to. What else can I talk about? Let me get off my soapbox. So.
The other question, the family thing.
Talk about my family.
You talked about last night. Family influence. No, you talked about living with a man. Talk about that. That was a great story. You went to your grandmother. Tell that story.
Oh, okay. So my husband and I have been married for 5 years. We got married in 2010, and Brian is his name. And Brian is like my first really serious relationship. I've never been. My parents always were like, she's kind of like a guy. Like I wasn't like waxing poetic about getting married or having a wedding or any of that thing. I've always been very single-minded in wanting to be an artist and wanting to be a singer, and so that was always my focus. And Brian, my husband, at a time, he was a nice breath of fresh air. So he was like, he's one of the first people that I ever brought home. He's one of the first people that I ever publicly was like, this is my boyfriend, this is my fiance, this is my husband. And so I think everybody knew it was serious because I was taking it serious. And with no dogs, when they take you seriously, and their people take you seriously, that's what you know for real. Otherwise, so we got together and got married really quickly. It all happened. We had our first baby. So everything happened in succession, and I never lived with him before. So I didn't know, how they secret lives when they're left to their own devices, and y'all do weird stuff. I don't know, we do weird stuff too, but y'all do weird stuff. I'm sorry. And he was just getting on my I think I just wasn't used to having someone around me for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it was new for me. And I remember after our initial fight, our first big fight, I called my grandmother. My grandmother was big. My grandfather passed away. So anybody knows how to do it. Poo-poo and granddaddy knew how to do it. So I was like, dude, you didn't tell me. I called my grandmother. So I was like, oh, you didn't tell me. It didn't go be like this. What? So, but she was right, and that's basically the key to it. You have to take the good with the bad. You set it in your life. So, there's been a good time. Just in the end, I think the thing that I would like to